News for all of you people first who bank with the friendly National Chemical Loan and Trust.
Yeah, several of the bank branches have been moved, friends, and would be obliged now if you'd make a notation of these switches.
It's a good idea. The 79th Street branch, this is more for people who live in New York, really.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This is more for people in New York. The 79th Street branch of the bank has now been moved to 147th Street.
The Wall Street branch is moving to Delancey Street and will be known hereafter as the Canal Street branch.
The 32nd Street branch is now located at 95th Street.
And finally, the 5th Avenue branch has been moved to Cicero Avenue out in Chicago, and that will be known as the Outer Drive branch.
Well,
and there you are.
There's only one small problem here that this presents, and we feel it can be easily overcome with your help.
That is that we have lost the records at the bank of your deposits and withdrawals. And if you could come in to our main office at the corner of 57th and 11th, we would appreciate it very much.
The downtown branch.
And tell us honestly how much you have in there.
We'll take your word for it. This sounds like a big problem, but it isn't really if we all play fair and we're all honest about it and tell Bob and Ray and their bank how much money you have in it.
Thank you.
Now over to our sports desk and our beloved sports commentator, Biff Burns.
Thank you very much, Ray. This is Biff Burns, fans, and I've just flown in from the Armitage Country Club in Millinocket, Maine, to bring in my special guest. As you know, this is National Golf Day around the country. I thought it might be good to get a look at another phase of golf, and an important one, too, the caddy. And we have with us here at our sports microphone the world's oldest lady caddy, and I wonder if you'd come in, ma'am, and tell us your name.
Well, my name is Miss Bernice Douglas.
Miss Douglas, you've been caddying now for some 38 years, almost as long as golf has been popular in this country.
Oh, well, golf has been popular, excuse me, for longer than 38 years. But it was certainly just starting to grab onto the fancy of the person who had more leisure time, in order that he could probably, with the increased leisure time, get to the golf course, and thereby, with leisure time, to...
What prompted you to become a caddy in the first place, inasmuch as that job had been handled by boys or men up until the time you entered the field?
Well, there was... Well, with increased leisure time, you found that there were more people going out on the golf course, and they were paying caddies to tote around their golf bags and so forth, and I was a strong lady.
Have you ever had any unusual experiences on the golf links as you've carried the bags for some of the world's top players?
Well, now, whatever you'd consider interesting experiences, I don't know. You see, with increased leisure time now, you'll find...
I think you went into that, lady. Now, let's get to another phase. How many miles do you think you've walked in your 38-year career as a lady caddy?
Well, I carried a pedometer one weekend, back several years ago, and then I just tried to use that more or less, because, you see, with leisure time, you're finding many more people outdoors, generally on the golf course.
Become a very popular sport, of course.
Because of the increased leisure time. And the pedometer that I carried showed that I walked over 30 miles one weekend.
Have you ever caddied for any famous golfers, like Bobby Jones or anyone we've...
The most famous golfer I've carried is Mickey Rooney. Of course, he was small.
For all of the young girls listening into our sportscast today who may hope to grow up and become lady caddies, can you give them any advice?
Well, I'd say now's the time to start when you're young. Get to know the different golf clubs, get to know what clubs are to be used in certain times, get to know... You see, with increased leisure time...
Well, I see our time is just about up here now, and we want to thank you very much for flying in from Millinocket, Maine, for a very interesting interview. And this is Biff Burns saying until next time, this is Biff Burns saying so long.
Our guests are some druggists from Somaliland here today.
Sir, are there any impressions that you'd like to give us? This is your first trip, I understand, to this country. Anything that's impressed you most that you'd care to tell us about? Well, I think that impresses most people, don't you, Bob?
Yes, I think it does that in the scenery, of course, which is unusual to you gentlemen, I'm sure. Tall buildings.
I see. Well, gee whiz, have you had a chance to enjoy any of our American baseball? You know, that's a big sport here.
Yes, well, that was good that you got a chance to see it. When are you going back? How long are you going to be here? Wednesday?
Uh-huh. And have you tried our American hot dogs and hamburgers and things like that?
Say, excuse me,
Oh,
man.
he had mustard and relish, the works, right?
I heard them before we went on the air. They were rehearsing a little song that they sing outside the drugstores over there.
Mm-hmm.
And could they do that for us, the interpreter? It's kind of a chant almost. I don't know whether it's to drum up business or what for.
Well, let's listen to it. Go ahead, fellows. The microphone's all yours.
That's it.
Let's push them towards the door, shall
All
we?
right, sure. Just
Open the door.
move back.
Just move back, fellas. Back. Good.
Boy, doesn't that grate on the nerves.
Boy, oh boy, is
Oh,
that
that's
terrible.
terrible. Seating time.
That's right, Arthur.
And Tony, who are you?
My name is Fred.
Well, where's Tony? He's usually here.
Well, Tony is sick, and they sent me over to replace him for you, Arthur.
Well, did they tell you what you're supposed to do?
That's
what
right, Arthur.
Your duties will be here?
That's right, Arthur. They told me to say that a lot.
Well, this is our eating portion with all of the guests.
That's right, Arthur.
You don't have to say that quite so often, Fred.
That's right, Arthur.
All of our guests handed out little luncheons to help them get through the day. And what do we have today, Fred?
Well, Arthur, the first thing, everyone has a little paper cup filled with grandmother's mincemeat sent over from the
Don't do it
Institute
quite
of...
so fast. You've got to make this thing last for about 3 minutes.
That's right, Arthur.
If I were you, I wouldn't say that too often, fella. I've been on the show a long time. You're gonna
All
get in
right.
trouble.
Yeah, now stop.
That's right,
there.
Arthur. I'm sorry. They also, for each and every member of the audience here, earmuffs from the Earmuff Institute of North America.
Earmuffs. That's all right for a chilly day, huh?
That's right, Arthur. And also, there's
How about some... Do we have any little paper cups of coleslaw?
No, we don't, Arthur. They were supposed to come, but they didn't get here, Arthur. That's right, Arthur. Arthur, that's right.
I told you once, and I'm not going to tell you again. You don't need to keep saying that's right, Arthur. You just say it once in a while.
That's
And
right.
everybody gets a pair of socks. Is that right?
That's right, Arthur. Everyone gets a pair of socks, and they're all through the courtesy of somebody here.
All right. Well,
Can't
let's
make
have
out the
a...
handwritten notes.
Okay, let's have a little bit of music or
Paper
something
bag.
while we all... Don't leave
Don't
those
forget.
wrapper... I was
Arthur, don't
going to
forget to
tell
make-
them about the paper bag.
That's right, Arthur.
You don't need to remind me of things because I have it all down here in notes. They'll all get a paper bag to take home there.
And don't forget
Food.
to tell them not to put anything on the floor, Arthur.
I already have told them not to put anything on the floor.
But I mean,
Now,
they...
you just go over there and sit down.
Happy to welcome back today, and especially with the additional network affiliations that we have, the Regional Coordinator of Interbureau Administration for the Northeast States, Clyde L. Whartney, or HAP as he is known to us here. HAP, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Like, first of all, Bob, I want to thank you, your employers, and the entire network for making this time available to me and my office absolutely free.
HAP, I know a great many things have taken place down at the Interbureau Coordination Administration
Yes,
since we've seen you, and I wonder if you'd bring us up to date a little bit.
Well, as you know, we have an office here in New York. We have a field office in Rutland, Vermont, and we cover the 6 New England states, Pennsylvania, and Indiana. And it's our hope to be opening shortly field office in Muncie, Indiana. I'd like first...
Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You still have quite a sizable number of men in the field reporting in on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. I wonder if you'd tell us how the cooperation with your administrators in the field has been.
The cooperation has been excellent. However, the morale at my office is at a low ebb. As you know...
Would you like me to hold that ice cream cone for you?
No, this is all right, thank you.
All right.
As you know, We have not had any money forthcoming from Washington. We've been functioning now for over a year. So that when I get into the office on, well, say Monday morning now, I'll get these shifty glances from all the employees because they haven't been paid in over a year. I've made several trips to Washington to find out who my immediate supervisor is. Nobody seems to know.
Well, you're still working on the basis of Army directives, isn't that right?
We have one office here, and in it we have about 12 folding chairs, one desk, a phone, and a complete list of Army regulations. Now, that's the only book that we have to go by.
Well, in other words, you haven't been able to get any satisfaction. Go ahead.
I haven't been able to get any satisfaction down in Washington as to where the money's going to come from.
Well, I can imagine that there should be a little bit of...
I'm an optimist at heart, and because of that, I've gone ahead and leased 4 more floors in the building where I am, and have taken on 250 more employees who will be typing the records that our field men will be bringing in from time to time.
And you're still coordinating, collating the records, sending them on to Washington on a regular basis.
Sending it on to Washington on a regular basis.
So that they will know what you're doing.
All know what we're doing down there.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much for bringing us up to date, and anything further that you have to report, make sure that you bring it to us first, will you please? Clyde L. Happ-Whitney of the Interbureau Regional Coordination Administration for the Northeast states, Pennsylvania, and Indiana.
Let me have 15 cents to get home.
Are we going out to Hollywood first today for those rushes that we promised to show?
We are going to show rushes?
Well, we sent Baloo out there to the set.
You mean work for all of us, I suppose.
Yeah, to the set of a new motion picture.
Oh, who's been playing with these earphones? You know, when we call in Wally Blue, we have to put on earphones to hear what he's saying at the other end, and gee whiz, it's caught my wig. And now it's on sideways.
That's terrible.
I hope members of the studio audience will not be too shocked.
But the part goes from your left ear right over to behind your right ear.
How do you like that? I ran out of spruce gum this morning and had to use spearmint.
Now on to Hollywood and Wally Baloo. This is what?
Wait a minute. Is that right? Is everything right? Let's try again, Master Control, shall we, to Hollywood and our correspondent, Wally Baloo.
Come in, Baloo. This is Wally Baloo on Soundstage 7 at Repulsive Pictures, where rushes for the new film The Proud and the Pooped are about to be run off. I'm speaking here with the star of the picture, Rock McGurk, who is just about to film the final scene. Is that right, Rock?
That's right, Mr. Baloo.
This is the barroom fight scene.
That's right.
And we're going to see some of those breakaway chairs in action.
Well, I think might be of interest to your listeners that I perform in these actual fight scenes. There's no seconds or anything like that. We just
don't have any...
Alan Ladd and I both fight each other here.
Let's see. Who comes out the victor?
Alan Ladd.
He does, eh?
It's a pretty good fight, and it lasts about 2.5, 3 minutes, and he hits me with a pitchfork handle.
Well, then he would end up in the role of the Proud, is that right? And you?
Well, we're both pooped. But he has more pride than I have.
Well, I see the director calling for attention over there, so we'll just stand by.
Attention over here.
Watch for the
I want attention.
Final scene.
This is the fight scene 1150. Take 2.
Sound.
Sound. Quiet on the set.
We're rolling.
Roll 'em.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the first aid people are coming over to examine. Mr. Ladd seems to be okay. Mr. McGurk, how do you feel?
He shouldn't have hit me that hard. It's only a movie.
I noticed that breakaway chair was a real chair,
It was
wasn't
a real chair made out of oak. And I'm telling you, that hurts.
Well, that seltzer bottle wasn't made of candy, was it?
I'll get you later, lad. This is only a picture, you know.
So, with a threatened warning,
punch you in the nose when we get off this set.
Rock McGurk walks off the set in a huff. Oh, there's another little fight stemming up. Get that!
Roll him! Get back!
Get that save!
Get that save!
Well, this certainly is a surprise. And from the set of Repulsive Pictures, Wally Ballou returns you to Bob and Ray.
Thank you. Back here in New York. That was very exciting, wasn't it?
We have a little surprise planned for today. Are the two people all set in opposite studios, Ray? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Worley and her brother, Mr. Worley, whom they haven't seen. They haven't seen each other for 67 years. And we've flown Mrs. Worley here, and Mr. Worley lives right here in New York.
He took a bus to get here.
We have them in separate studios, and we think that they're going to really have a big surprise in store for them, thanks to us.
Why don't you talk to Mrs. Worley first?
All right. Well, would you bring in Mrs. Worley, please? Come on in, my dear.
Come on, step lively, lady, will you?
Oh, wait, she's 87 years old.
Well, I don't care, Bob. We only have
I
45
know,
minutes.
let's be kind to her. Right over
Come
here.
on, lady, step along.
Come on, Mother, right over here.
Hey, Scott.
Sit down, if you will. You are Miss Tabitha Worley, is that right?
Tabitha.
Tabitha Worley.
Yes, a lot of people make that mistake.
And where do you make your home, Miss Worley?
I live in Bondurant, Wyoming.
That's a wonderful country out there, I know.
Yes,
And you are 87 years young, is that right?
that's right.
And you were flown here by Bob and Ray. And do you have any idea why you're here in this studio today?
I don't have the remotest idea why I'm here.
Is there
Will you
anyone...
speak up, lady, please?
Well, she's speaking up, Ray. Don't...
Great Scott.
Do you have anybody that you would particularly like to see after, let's say a great number of years? Someone you used to know?
No, I don't suppose.
Anybody in your family, Miss Worley, that you particularly...
My family, let's see. No. No, it's been so long since I've seen any of them anyway. I don't suppose I'd know them if I fell over them anyway.
Do you remember your brother, Frank?
Sure.
How long is it since you saw him?
Oh, let's see. It must be about 70 years.
70 years. We thought it was only 66, but it's 70.
It's 70
Well,
years.
we have a little surprise arranged for you, Miss Worley. We like to do this now and then with the excess cash that we have from our expense account. And I wonder if you'd open the door over there and bring in our next guest.
All right, come on, will you, pal? Step along.
Now, Mr. Frank Worley is facing his sister Tabitha for the first time in 66 years. Let's hear what they have to say.
Well, what'd you want me here for?
This is your sister Tabitha, Mr. Worley.
Oh, hello, Tabitha.
Hello, Frank.
All right, now will you go over and sit down in our studio audience, please? Knowing that we've made two people happier. Now they have.
Why don't you sit together in the same row? They're not even sitting in the same row.
Oh, and you probably have a lot to talk over, don't you, Miss Worley?
Well, I suppose, but it's been so long.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Worley, you have anything to say to your
No.
sister?
No, you've changed.
Uh-huh. Well, I know that we've...
You mind
Maybe
if I sit in another row?
No, you can sit anywhere you want. It's
Where do you
okay.
live now, Tabitha? Bondurant, Wyoming.
And so, as they exchange anecdotes of days gone by...
Wait a minute, I better get out of here. I have an appointment. I have to have my teeth fixed. Would you mind if I run along?
No, you
go
go ahead.
All right, and so we have rejoined the Worleys, and we know that we've added a little bit of human kindness.
Is that
to
why you flew me here?
Yes, you can go back any time now.
Well, I might as well run along home now. There's probably a plane leaving. Bye.
Goodbye, Miss Worley.
Isn't that heartwarming?
It certainly is. It did something to me.
Well, our Bob and Ray staff has been busy on fall features for the past week, and one of those which you have requested most is the Webley-Webster book review, which, of course, has been quite popular in the past. And, Webb, I'm looking forward to a fall and winter of great books brought to life in vivid description by you on these weekly visits.
You put it real pretty, Bob. Well, as you know, the fall season, most of the publishers go to work to get out a lot of books in the fall because people are back inside the house and they read.
Webley suggests that people in the fall are ready to settle down and read a good book now and
Oh,
then.
Bob, you don't have to translate for me.
Well, I
People
thought-
know what I'm saying.
Thought maybe it was a little difficult for some
That
of
gets
them.
my goat. I don't know if I've ever told you that or
All right,
not.
well, I won't do
But every
that.
time I say something, you say, what Webley means to say, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, all right, I
They
won't-
know what I'm
You're
saying.
taking all the time now. Let's get... What book have you got to review for this week?
The Panty Farmer Cookbook.
Mm-hmm. This then would have to do with food, and what recipe do you like best about...
Well, there's so many wonderful recipes. I think on page 20, though, is the most interesting part of the whole book.
Uh-huh.
This ship is at sea for about 4 or 5 days. And as we look in on them...
Ship at sea in the Fanny Farmer Cookbook?
That's right.
You sure you have the right book? You're reviewing the right one?
Look, you mind your business and all my mind.
But I see the
On page
Webley
48.
Webster players over there. What are they...
They're here to dramatize what I think is the most interesting part of the book. Sort of
They're
to
gonna
whet your
dramatize
appetite.
a cookbook, huh?
Well,
I
that's
don't
what I'm
remember
going to
seeing-
do.
All right.
Page 48, then. It's shortly after 4 bells, and the ship's at sea for about 8 days. And we look in and...
You sent for me, Captain? That's right, matey. Take a look at this here chart.
Why, sir, you
Where?
got the chart upside down.
Why, you...
No.
You'll keep a civil tongue in your head when you talk to the good captain of this tub.
Begging your pardon, Captain. I just took a quick glance at the chart there.
I want you to take a good look at this chart, matey, and tell the captain where we are.
Well, if it were me, sir, I'd say we're about 200 miles south of Hatteras, sir.
What do you mean, if it be you? What kind of lingo is that to say to the good captain?
Well, you ask me,
Why,
sir. Well,
you-
Oh.
Get up off the deck, matey. Try to keep a civil tongue in your head. Now then,
Begging your pardon, sir.
what be we have to eat?
Well, we got some corned beef below, sir. A bit of blood pudding. And some pilot crackers.
Why, you...
Oh.
That's no bill of fare to recite to the captain, mate. Now get ye out of here.
Aye, sir.
So, that's
Wow.
pretty exciting,
Oh,
isn't
it's
it?
exciting. Yeah, but
That's the Panty Farmer Cookbook. Get it at any bookstore, I guess.
Very great pleasure for us to welcome another great baseball figure to our Bob and Ray booth this afternoon. One of the great first basemen of all time with the old Highlanders, I guess
That's
it
right,
was.
the old Highlanders,
And
Bob.
later manager, Frankie Papp. Frank, it's a pleasure to have you in here today. And I
Pleasure
wanna-
to be back, and I would like to say that I enjoyed that anecdote very much.
They tell me,
It
Frankie,
reminded
you've got
me
quite
of
a few anecdotes of your own.
great many anecdotes. I have found through the years that baseball anecdotes go down through the years. In
That's
other
right.
words, if it happened to happen a double day in 1890, it's sure going to happen to Walt Dropo in 1955.
Well, I guess that stands to reason. Frankie, tell us what you remember as one of the most maybe embarrassing moments you ever had on the playing field.
Well, it's an anecdote much like Leo told here recently on your program. And it was the first day I was in the big leagues. I come up to bat, and the first time up, I was a little shaky up there, and I was a little slow on getting signals at the time. I was trying to remember them. It was my first day. I remember the third base coach would tip his hat. That meant something. And
Sure.
the first baseman would bend over and pick up a stone. That meant something.
That's right.
And so forth.
Go ahead. There you were,
Oh,
standing up there and
and,
trying to remember the signals and trying to figure
Well,
out...
I was up at bat. I swung left-handed. And the pitch out there in the mound, I don't know if you remember him.
No, I don't, but go ahead.
And he was out there, he wound up, and they let them come in there. I could hardly... Well, in fact, I couldn't see it.
Uh-huh.
And the stands around me, send the bump back.
Kind of trying to rattle you a little bit, Frankie, huh?
That's right. And behind the plate, you probably remember him, the umpire.
Yes, I do.
And there was 3 high hardwoods. They went right by me, 3 called strikes. Well, I was mad. I took my bat and I threw it way up.
Uh-oh. That was
Way up.
pretty outward sign of anger there.
It went
wasn't
up above the second tier of stands.
Uh-huh.
And the umpire said to me, young man, I was a young man then.
Sure.
He said, young man, if that bat comes down,
you're out of the game.
Well, there's a real baseball story, if I ever heard one. And I know that you've got a lot more, Frankie Pap, but it certainly has been nice talking to you.
It's been swell.
And that'll go into the annals, I'm sure. Thanks for dropping by.
Will this be buried in Washington?
Hey, hold everything, friends.
That's right. Stop whatever you're doing, because this time I think the makers of Bob and Ray stuff have really done it.
I know they have. They have added another to the list of things you can be immune to.
Now, you can be immunized to typhoid, typhus, and a host of other diseases, but now, thanks to you-know-who, you can get diplomatic immunity.
You heard right. Now you can get diplomatic immunity.
Now, a lot of you probably are saying that diplomatic is not a disease, and you're right, it's not.
But did you know that all diplomats from foreign lands are immune from income tax and such other legal scourges as parking and speeding tickets and prosecution for a wide assortment of other petty crimes?
Well, that's to say, upon presenting the credentials of their respective countries, they cannot be arrested or detained in any way.
Great, huh? Well, how have we, two lovable but uninfluential radio broadcasters, gotten such immunity? And how can we offer it to others, you're asking? And well, you might.
We've gotten it through the simple expedient of setting up our own country on a small island just outside the legal limits of the continental United States.
This country we've named Transylvania because up till now it was only the name of a fictitious country used in Dracula pictures. Therefore, it sounds familiar, and most people think they know where it is.
We've also set up a Transylvanian embassy in an old store in the low-rent district of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
Our application is in for UN membership, and we're thinking of joining the Cold War on the side of the free world. So you can see we're really in the diplomatic swing of things.
But now, what other benefits accrue to those having our diplomatic immunity other than living in a state of mild lawlessness, responsible only to Transylvania, which couldn't care less?
Well, the benefits are many. First of all, your name is put on the mailing lists of all the more popular countries, so that you are constantly being invited to important diplomatic functions and lavish embassy parties.
You get to meet hundreds of interesting people, travel around the world, all expenses paid, to look at dams, roads, and other monuments to progress.
Not only that, but Transylvania has applied for and may be the recipients of generous foreign aid. The money to be used to build a giant hotel, cabana club, gambling casino on the island. This will be used for you and your loved ones should you, by abusing your privileges, be expelled from the United States.
With your Bob and Ray immunity kit, you get free of charge, besides your passport and other official-looking documents, a set of diplomatic license plates with the abbreviation DPL. A book on protocol with chapters on bowing and scraping, cheek kissing, heel clicking, and Yankee baiting.
A sash to wear with the formal clothes you'll have to buy in Transylvania's national colors. Persimmon, burnt umber, and cerise. Do you like them?
Finally, a collection of bright, shiny medals, including the coveted Order of Count Basie.
Now, we still have a few legal loopholes to plug up on this thing.
Like possible loss of your American citizenship?
However, we have every reason to believe they'll be cleared up and cleared up soon. So, we're taking applications now. If you're interested, simply write on a card, "Make me immune, Bob and Ray," and mail it to Transylvanian Consulate, New York.
That's Transylvanian Consulate, New York.
What, officer? We're coming.
I tell you, we have a very well-known person with us today. This fellow is well-known in hobby circles. We thought we'd ask him to come over. Prentice L. Wilson, would you come over here, please? And have a chair at our interview microphone. Mr. Prentice L. Wilson certainly is a hobbyist of unusual means. He collects electric light bulbs from famous places. Could you go into that a little bit further, Mr. Wilson?
You just about covered it.
Well, are you still doing this?
Well, yes, still do it.
Mr. Wilson claims he has a collection of some 250 light bulbs which have come out of famous places ranging everywhere from the White House to the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, Madison Square Garden in New York, and the theater where My Fair Lady is playing. Is there a story behind that?
No. You pretty much covered it. I have those bulbs that you mentioned. I also have a bulb from one of those remote-type telephone booths that you find along the highways.
Uh-huh. Well, what prompted you to start all of this?
Well, I was a bulb snatcher from way back.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take a bulb from the kitchen to bring to the living room. I'd, more or less rob Peter to pay Paul, as they say.
Uh-huh. And pretty soon you began taking them from other places, from public places, did you? What was the first bulb you snatched outside of your own home?
Police headquarters.
Is that so? Was there any repercussion after that?
No. You know those little globes that the sergeant sits behind
Yes.
at the desk where you're booked?
Yeah, the blue.
You've been booked. haven't
Yes.
you? Yeah. Well, he went out for a minute, and I took the globe off and took the bulb out, and then put the globe back on.
And he never knew it was gone. You certainly are an interesting person, Prentice L. Wilson, and we want to talk to you a bit more about your bulb collection, so stick around a while. We're still talking with Prentice L. Wilson, who collects electric light bulbs from well-known places. You brought some of the bulbs with you, and I notice you've got them all labeled. Could we look at some of those bulbs?
There are not too many different brands, as you know, of light bulbs. There's your Westinghouse, your GE, your Sylvania. Beyond that...
After that,
you've had it.
Yes.
Pretty much so. Now, of course, recent years, I've branched out to these pink lights, yellow lights, those insect bulbs.
Yes.
Swell.
Mm-hmm.
And your Christmas tree lights, your reds, your greens, your
This
yellows.
one here says it came out of the Holland Tunnel. How did you happen to get that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Gee whiz,
I'm
that
very
was a good
sorry.
one. What did the adhesive tape on that say?
It was Holland Tunnel. Was that
that's
a tough one to get?
You bet it was tough. You can only get that when you're stuck in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When the traffic is so busy that they can't watch
But you have time to stop and get out.
Get out and get up and get the bulb. Gee, I'll have to wait probably another year to get another one of those.
Well, that's unfortunate. I'll try to be more careful with the next one. Let me just reach over and get them.
Oh, now wait a minute.
Where
Why don't
was
we
that
just
one
leave
from?
them in the basket, and I can tell you what I have without you having to hold them.
Well,
They vary from
like-
50 watts, 60, 75, 100.
Yeah, I'm not concerned so
Three-way
much.
switch bulbs I have.
Uh-huh.
I got that from a hotel lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Rochester, New York.
How many now do you have in your entire collection? Not counting the two, we just...
Well, I can't count those, so I'd have about 751. I had 53.
Mm-hmm. You must have plenty of light in your home now, huh? No more bulb snatching, certainly.
Yes, plain clear type that you can see the
that's a real old one.
stuff on the inside.
Could we see that one? Is that here? Yeah.
All right, now I'll show you. This is a very old one, and you can see it even has that tip of
Look at
glass.
that.
You see? The
Yeah,
way this
let me
real
see that one.
old-fashioned kind.
Looks fragile as anything.
This was made about 1927,
That's
which
the
goes
oldest
way
one you've got.
back
Uh-huh.
for electric light bulbs.
Just
It
look
really
at that,
does.
audience.
Isn't that a nice one?
And I have a little butter
gee
on my
whiz.
fingers from toast I just finished. I'm sorry,
Well,
Mr. Wilson.
I'm going to get out of here.
I won't pick up any more. Prentice L. Wilson, our hobbyist of the week, appearing before the Bob and Ray interview microphone.
And now another new Bob and Ray feature, Spotlight on New Talent. Here is Harley Braithwaite, a linotype machine operator who's trying to break into show business with his new act, that of imitating people in various occupations. Before he does his imitations, I'd like to ask, first of all, what is different about his act that he hopes will encourage the people to applaud him and to give him his start in show business.
And don't you want to welcome me to the show, Ray, first?
And welcome to the show.
Thank you. What is different about the act I do? Is that what you were asking me?
Yes. Is there anything unusual?
Well, I do probably more imitations, I think, than anyone else in this field.
I'm getting a hurry-up signal, so why don't you go right into your imitations? Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Give a listen to Harley Braithwaite.
Thank you very much, Ray. First of Bob and Ray, I would like to imitate a motorcycle policeman. Let me see your driver's license.
Just keep going, Harley.
An exterminator. Where'd you say you saw them coming from, lady? A TV repairman.
Wait a second. Wait for your applause.
thank
It's one of the first lessons in show business.
TV repairman.
I think when you're through with each individual imitation...
It's going to take too long if they applaud after each one.
All right, then let's... will you all just hold your applause until the very end, and then we'll give them a tremendous ovation. Go right ahead, Harley.
TV repairman. We'll have to take it to the shop, lady. I think a whole lot of different parts are shot. Cha-cha teacher. You're doing fine. Just fine. Librarian. Shh.
That's your only
It's a
female,
lady,
huh?
yes.
Disc jockey. This next tune is up 3 buttons from last week's list. Burglar. Oh, I'm awfully sorry. Don't get up. Waiter.
Wait a minute, I don't get that one, Holly.
It's a little joke. See, the burglar is there.
Oh, I see, yeah. At night. Okay.
Truck driver. Ain't one lane enough for you, buddy? Politician. I don't think I'd care to comment on that at this time. Carpenter. Ooh, ow, ooh.
I might point out that right here, Holly has waved his finger around like a carpenter who just struck his finger with a hammer.
Barber in a barber shop.
All right, I think...
Do you want anything off the top?
Uh-huh.
Waiter says, what do you have? Or he can say, thanks, cheapskate.
Mm-hmm. What about how many will you be?
Well, I'll add that. That's a good idea.
I think, Harley, that your act has certainly got everything you need except maybe the staging of it. I think...
Or we've got thousands of things on the menu. Beans.
Right, yeah. Well, Harley Braithwaite, ladies and gentlemen, a linotype machine operator who we trust has been pushed along the road to fame here at Spotlight on Amateur Talent.
Ray, I guess this would be the time to present the gentleman that we have recalled and to make an explanation of why we haven't had more reports from him over the past few months. As you'll remember, we sent our correspondent Brad Balloon to
Hi, Brad.
Madrid. Brad has just returned at our request
Sit down, Brad.
to this country, and
Bob's gonna
Brad, I
fire
think
away
it's...
a few questions at you, and why don't you speak up, because, as you know, you're in trouble.
Ray is giving him instructions now as to how to act.
Seems like you goofed quite a bit.
Well, let's get to it. Brad.
Hello there, Bob, and hello again, everybody.
Brad, you've been in Lisbon, I guess, Madrid, Barcelona, for the past 6 months. We had one report from you. That was the day after you arrived, and nothing since. What gives? What cooks?
I don't know how to answer that. I didn't know it was going to be such a pointed question, Bob. The basic mistake, of course, was sending me to Portugal because I couldn't, nor I still can't understand Portuguese.
Well, as you understand, we did pick you at the last minute. All of the other correspondents were out, and other news capitals of the world. We did need to cover the Lisbon situation, the Madrid situation.
The Iberian Peninsula picture.
The what?
The Iberian Peninsula picture.
Well, why didn't you give us this in the last 6 months? You haven't covered any of it.
The problem...
we didn't hear from you for 4 months.
Well, I would attend, let's say the president or the foreign minister of that country would issue a press statement. And I couldn't make... It was all Greek to me. I couldn't make head and a tail out of it. And consequently, I didn't know what to say. All I could do would be more or less interpret his mood by whether he smiled or grimaced.
Couldn't you have wired us back for help in some respect? We might have rounded up a translator for you, or it seems like a pretty weak excuse.
Well,
what's the matter? Were you having a good time over there?
Yes. Was there anything? Well, yes. I enjoyed it very much. The weather
that wasn't what
is,
you went for.
Might be able to describe the weather there as fair and warmer. We
weren't concerned with the weather,
spent a lot of time there at the beautiful beaches. The people all love the seashore there, and the picturesque fishermen as they'd go out with their seines was certainly something that you could write a song about.
I know, but...
The sunsets were beyond description. The skies that formed the backdrop were beautiful, always snow-covered.
Brad,
blue sky.
I hate to interrupt, but as you know, we're not very happy with your reports, and we're not very pleased with your attitude or your work. So we're transferring you to our Guam office. You'll be leaving on Monday.
Well, okay, then.
That's the way it is.
Okay, Bob and Ray.
Sorry to have to do that.
On the air, too.
The vast Canadian North Woods supplied the majestic background for our next feature. This week we took our roving microphone to the Great Hope Lumber Camp. Great Hope Lumber and Pulp Plant here in Vendome, Manitoba, Canada.
to chat with some of the husky he-men who work year in and year out to provide the wood for this nation and its resources. We're standing in the mess shack, which is the center of activity at the moment, and with everyone else out busily chopping down wood. It's a few minutes before noon, and we thought we'd chat with Pierre, the chef here. Pierre,
yes,
half-breed, is that...
my name
I
is...
have my notes say...
They was calling me that.
Talk to Pierre the half-breed.
I'm Pierre Labeouf on it there.
Pierre Labeouf. What is this... What is this meal you're concocting for the rugged men of the great Canadian North?
This is their noontime lunch there.
This is lunch.
They will be coming on inside the mess house there to eat soon.
Uh-huh.
They, of course, work on top outdoors there. They want to eat hearty.
They'll have plenty of husky, hearty appetites, Pierre. So I imagine you've got a real heavy meal of some kind of filling hash and steaks and things like that.
Well, of course, the starch there is what the men need. You better eat a lot of starch there.
Could you give us just an idea of today's menu, for instance?
Well, they will have the Vichy Soissou there to start with.
Uh-huh.
Then they have a chance to eat on the escargot there, the snail on it.
Escargot.
They was eat the snail there. They was served hot with a garlic sauce there.
That's something I'm told you're quite famous for.
Yes, I was very famous for that. Then they will have their choice of 3 main course dinners there.
They have a choice.
They could have the filet sole mignon, which is the sauce there on top of a sole.
Yes.
They could have the coquille of pigeon on it.
Coquille of pigeon?
That's a pigeon that was cooked with a sauce there, with all the feathers plucked out from him on it.
Uh-huh.
Then we have the la poulette in a bean sauce too there. That was your chicken there.
And
but then they top it all off there with rice pudding on it.
Sounds like a meal any husky he-man would certainly enjoy sitting down to after a morning chopping wood here in the great North Woods. Thank you, Pierre. We've had a little bit of the color of...
Here they come now. Duck there.
We better get out of here.
Where is Mr. Jack Bailey of Hollywood, California? I've heard that name before.
I believe that's me.
Star of Truth or Consequences, originating...
No, I've never been on that show at all.
Come to think of it, he doesn't have a long beard, and he's not bald-headed.
No, I'm Jack Bailey, the famous brain surgeon.
Oh, well, I didn't... I'm sorry, I made the mistake. I thought you were the Jack Bailey.
Well, I consider myself the Jack Bailey.
Well, you could be, but he doesn't wear shoes. I just happened to notice your feet there. Your toes curl up in front, have little bells on them, don't they?
Yeah, but that's the shoe I'm wearing.
I know, but I know he doesn't wear that kind. I've seen him on TV.
These are shoes for eccentric guys like me.
But
I mean, you know, it's a
come in
push,
and
and
they
I'm
say
in a
to you,
giggle.
will you operate on my brain? Do they see those shoes? Do they think anything or say anything?
Oh, no, I don't wear them around the office. I go barefoot there.
Oh, well, that should set their minds at ease, I suppose. What are you doing here in town?
I'm here for a head trepanning job myself.
Oh, well, say, it's kind of like a busman's holiday for you, huh? Have an enjoyable stay here, and I'm sorry that we misconstrued who you were, but now I guess we've got it all
I'm glad it's
straightened
cleared
out.
up anyway.
Okay, well, we could go over there and sit down, and there he goes. Jack Bailey, our guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's sitting right in the front row, and I hope you will come back and see us again sometime, Jack.
Well, all depends on what they say when I get through with my wig.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have anything they want to swap in the audience?
Yes, sir,
because
I have this
all
thing
right.
I'd like to get rid of. I'd
This
like
is
to
our
swap it off for
regular swap day.
I'd like to swap it off for a marble top table.
What is this thing you have here that you want to swap for a marble top table?
It's a pair of baseball spikes.
See, those look in pretty good shape. They've never been used, have
No,
they?
and they're alligator.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're very good. They cost me when I was a boy. See, I've had them a good many years, and I've kept them in Vaseline and
Yeah.
like that. And they have stayed soft and supple.
How did you finally come to decide you'd just soon trade them for a marble top table?
Well, my mother said that she was sick and tired of eating off these spikes.
Does anybody here have a marble top table that they'd like to trade for a pair of
I have one, but it's a
spikes?
very old marble top table, but I don't know what I'd do with the baseball spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you have any suggestions, sir? That,
Well, do
the
you
lady
give them
could-
to your grandson?
Do you have a grandson?
Yes, I could do that.
Very good solution to the problem. Where's the table?
Well, the table's at home. I didn't bring that with me.
Well, one of the requisites of swap day is that you have the item you want to swap here with you. Now, this gentleman followed
Well,
the
what
rules.
the deuce am I supposed to do? Bring a marble table in here?
Oh, gracious, I don't know, man.
Well, heavens to Betsy. I mean, baseball spikes you could carry in a paper bag.
Well, goodness, the fellow wants to get whatever he swaps and take it home with him.
Well, great Scott. Land's sakes, a marble table isn't something that particularly a lady like myself could carry around.
That is understood, but criminalities, if you want to trade something, you should have it here with you.
Mm-hmm. And then the swap is off.
That's right.
Well, could I do business on the outside with the lady? I mean, could I get her phone number?
Anything you want to arrange that way is all right with us. Yeah,
okay.
It doesn't have to take place.
All right, man,
on
and
the air.
I'll talk it over with you.
All right. Now, then, these
This
spikes are what size?
here is
I
the
get
Bob and Ray
it. I
show.
remember they're 8.5 and a D wide.
It's time for our Bob and Ray Lucky phone call now, and we're dialing a Bagshaw, Wisconsin phone number. For our lucky listener there, if he or she is at home, certainly there's going to be a big surprise in store because we're adding a new feature to Lucky Phone Call this week. Person isn't left holding the bag, so to speak. Hello? Is this the home of Ms. Fern Diddy in Bagshaw, Wisconsin?
Yes, it is.
This is Bob and Ray
For
in
you,
New York.
Fern.
Oh, I guess we had Mr. Diddy there. This is Bob and Ray in New York.
She'll be right in the phone.
Oh, I thought you were on the phone there.
She's cannon.
Okay, so hurry her up, though. We don't have too much time.
Hurry up, Fern.
I guess the phone number was in Ms. Diddy's name instead of Mr. Diddy.
Hello.
Mrs. Diddy?
Yes?
This is Bob and Ray in New York.
Who?
Bob and Ray, our lucky phone call for the week. Your name was
Well,
selected from among hundreds of thousands.
This is a lucky phone call, Eddie.
She's telling her husband, Eddie, that it is the
Ah.
lucky phone call. Miss Diddy, you were canning when we called you.
That's right. I'm putting up beets and peas.
Sound delicious. How do you feel about having been selected at random
Well, I'm
scientifically?
Just so excited about it. I didn't know that you had... what is this calling?
Bob and Ray,
Do you ever hear Bob and Ray
lucky phone
monitor?
call.
No, we haven't heard.
Uh-huh. Well, you're home, and that's all that it takes to get our new feature,
Well-
which we're adding to Lucky Phone Call this week.
Good. What do we get?
You're going to get a Bob and Ray scroll, Miss Diddy. And we'll have it in the mail to you. Just let me check the address there. You are at 404 Spruce Street in Bagshaw. Is that right?
Bob and Ray's scroll. What?
Yes.
What
Just
is-
saying that you were the Lucky Phone Call recipient today. And
What's
it'll be
lucky?
dated and signed by us, Bob and Ray.
What's lucky about that?
That's it. Thanks very much, Miss Diddy, for talking with us. Glad you're home. Back to your canning now.
What's...
Bye-bye, my dear. That's the first of the lucky phone calls, and it looks like we're off to another successful season of great ones.
It isn't often that you see me jumping here in my seat this way with excitement because we've seen many exciting things come and go. Today, however, I think we've topped them all. Sitting opposite me here in our little booth is one of the greatest impersonators that I've ever had the privilege to know and to talk with. He's been here an hour, and he had us all awe-stricken as he ran through many of his impersonations. For those listening, I wonder if you'd repeat your name for us, please.
Arch Rawlinson.
Arch Rawlinson. And would you care to tell them what you do, or would you like me to go ahead?
Well, I'm rather modest about it. But,
I understand,
I
Arch.
guess you could go ahead and describe it.
Well, friends,
I'd be glad to work for you.
Mr. Rawlinson here impersonates presidents. Presidents
All
of
before 1900.
presidents who were president before 1900. So here you're going to sit in on a little bit of history.
It's
First
been a
of all,
rather interesting study for me to get the voices down, as we say.
I was going to ask you about that. How did you really get their voices?
First,
so
of course, I had to study the lives of the presidents.
Sure.
Learn as much as I could about them, their personal habits, their family relationships, their part in American history.
Of course, there's famous speeches, too.
Yes.
I wonder then, before we
Although
take it...
I lay off the speeches a little bit, I go more for the things they would say in every day. It's like going to the store or something.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who is the first president we...
Martin Van Buren.
Martin Van Buren.
And he sounds something like this.
All right,
Would
go
you
ahead.
give me 3 pounds of
White flour, please. That's when he went to the store.
That was
shopping.
What President Martin Van Buren sounded. Let's
Good-
quickly
good
run.
Jimmy Madison.
All right.
Would you like to hear that?
All right, sir.
I say, looks like we're going to have rain before morning.
That was.
See them clouds?
Former President.
Over in the west there.
Sorry, sir.
That's all.
That was former President James Madison. Who else do you have on your list?
Oh, well, practically anyone you can mention.
How about
Franklin Pierce?
Franklin Pierce.
Well, I don't do that one so well. I think the one probably I do the best is President John Polk. And he sounded something like this. John would walk down the street, and he would wave to a friend and say, "Hello there."
Uh-huh.
Ray, tell him it was James Polk.
I didn't know that. I thought it was. That was President James Polk, sir.
No, that was President John Polk.
I don't think we had a President John Polk. I know we had a James Polk.
George, I must have been doing the wrong one.
Did we have a President Polk, really? Are you sure about
I
that?
better look that up.
Did we have a President Polk? They're nodding from the communicators
James
table.
Polk, though, right?
Well, nodding, yes. But it is James Polk. Well, Arch, it's been a thrill.
I've checked with Mr. Copeland on that.
I'm not jumping around my seat as much now as I was
No, I
before.
notice you're not. You calm down there. You kind of slump down in your seat a little bit.
Do you do this in theaters or nightclubs?
Wherever I can be booked, yes.
Arch, what was the last name again?
Rawlinson.
Rawlinson. President impersonator. Presidents, that is, before 1900.
Hi, sports fans. This is Biff Burns in the sports room, and with the pennant season drawing to a close, I thought it might be appropriate today to play over a tape of a famous locker room celebration that took place some 23 years ago, the day the Boston Belters won the pennant. So with that in mind, here is that old tape.
Hi, this is Hart. If you can't hear me, don't blame me. Hi, this is Jimmy Porter of the Porter House of Sports. And if you can't hear me, it's not my fault. Hey, Art, over here. Hey, Art, over here. This is Art Beebe, the manager of the Boston Belters. Hey, if you can't hear me, don't blame me. Art's trying to work his way over here, and in a few seconds we'll find out how most of the fellas feel about winning the... Hey, Art, over here.
Hi, Jimmy. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you, Art. Can you hear me? Hey, don't blame me if you can't hear me. The din here is really... is terrific. Art, how do the boys feel about winning the pennant? Are they excited?
Well, you can imagine. Hey, cut it out, Don.
Hey, Don Seaman. Can you get over here a second, Don?
Jimmy, the boys feel just great about
Don,
winning.
hey, wait a minute. Don Seaman.
Hi, Jimmy, pal.
Don Seaman. Hey, Don, where can I find the Grey Goose himself, Nick Simmons? Hey, Don, where's the Grey Goose?
Isn't this din terrific, Jimmy?
And I said, yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Here's Charlie Toller. Charlie Toller. Over here, Charlie.
Jimmy, isn't this great? Hey, cut it out, Cooney. Don't pour that stuff on my head.
Hey, I just saw Joe Cooney. I've covered a lot of events, but this is terrific. I hope you can hear me, that's all. If you can't, it's not my fault. Hey, Jimmy Schwab, Jimbo. Hey, Jimbo, over here, boy. Can you make it over?
Hi, Jimmy. You ever see anything like this? I've never seen anything like this.
Oh, it's terrific, Jim. I've never seen anything like it. It's really tremendous.
I've never seen anything like this. Did you ever hear so much noise?
It's terrific. It's a real experience being down here. You've got to be down here to appreciate it, right, Jim?
Hey, don't horse around, Brokey. Don't shove, Vince.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. Here's Vince Broggie. Vince Broggie, how do you feel? Vince.
Great, Jimmy. Feel great.
Vince, doesn't it feel great, I mean, at this moment to be a member of the pennant-winning team like the Boston Belters?
Jimmy, I don't know if you can hear me, but the Boston Belter locker room is on the third base side under the stands.
I wonder if it's as noisy over there, because the din here is terrific.
And so it went on that day, 23-odd years ago, the day the Boston Belters clinched the pennant. I hope you've enjoyed sharing this sports memory with me, and until next time, this is Biff Burns saying so long.
Time now for the Bob and Ray Good Neighbor Award for this week, and our letter
nominating the lady we're about to hear from comes from Lafayette, Indiana. And it nominates someone whom they term everybody's grandmother, and she's here now. Ray, would you bring her up? Aunt Martha Pietrasanto.
All right, come on, lady.
Right over here, Mother.
And you'll talk to Bob, and I'll stand by.
Hello there.
Hello.
You are everybody's grandmother, Aunt Martha Pietrasanto. Is that
Yes,
right?
I'm so excited. The trip here was
We've
so wonderful.
looked forward to meeting you, Aunt Martha.
I want to thank my dear neighbors who sent my name in. It was so kind
Well,
of
it
them.
certainly
I don't
was
think
a
I deserve it.
Wonderful letter from Lafayette, and they told us all of the things that you do that they think you should be nominated for a good neighbor. And would you tell us, please?
Well,
what was the one thing that really decided us?
The family across the street were all evicted during a raging blizzard last winter. And
Would you speak up a little louder, everybody's grandmother? They're signaling me they're not hearing you too well in there. Just a little more volume. That's it.
Well, I'm going to cry now, I'm afraid. Well, this family across the street were evicted last winter during a raging blizzard, and their furniture was all out there in the street, covered with snow, and they were standing around shivering.
No one coming to their help, hmm?
Yeah, that's right. And I thought, well, now somebody should do something. And so I brought them each a graham cracker.
And so, for helping this poor, unfortunate family, you were nominated by your good neighbors there in Lafayette, Indiana, as our good neighbor of the week. Everybody's grandmother, Aunt Martha Pietrasanto. And we want to wish you a lot of good fun while you're here in New York, everybody's. And you'll be put up at the Bob and Ray Hotel, of course. And everything is on the house. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, and I want to thank again my friends.
You keep on helping everybody, won't you?
I certainly will.
Thank you, Aunt Martha.
Wally Ballou is stationed at one of New York's newest and most complete canine headquarters. It's called Mutarama. Come in, please, Wally Ballou.
Lee Ballou from the Swank Mutarama, located on New York's Park Avenue, and chatting with the founder of this unusual institution, which gives complete dog service from A to Z, Mr. Hiram Hensinger. Hiram, if I may call you that, we're standing right now, I understand, in the canine clothing and jewelry department.
That's right, Mr. Ballou. Here you can spend anything from a few cents up to several $100s on collars for your dog and dog coats and gowns.
Really amazing.
We have, as you can see, lovely imported silks for the girl dogs. We have some conservative tweed coats for the males. We have shoes here. Made by, I won't mention his name, a prominent bootmaker. The fabrics range all the way from the drip dries up to Vicunis's, and they're all designed exclusively for us by the famous Izzy of Paris.
Yes, and I was noticing particularly these rain booties that you have for keep the doggies' feet dry.
Yes.
They're lined in cashmere, aren't they, for winter?
Yes, that's right. They're winter booties because dogs don't like to get their feet wet any more than you do, Mr. Ballou.
And, of course, this dog perfume that seems to be quite popular, lamp pole number 5. This is the beauty parlor we're stepping into now, Department 2. What goes on here, Harry?
Well, we have...
Hiram, brother.
That's all right. We have here, beside the clipping, we have a staff of plastic surgeons who can do nose bobs and ear jobs, tail jobs.
Well, what's the newest thing in dog hairdos, Hiram?
Your poodle cut is the most popular right now.
I thought the poodle cut was always popular.
Well, never on Irish setters or Airedales or Cocker Spaniels or English sheepdogs they weren't.
No. How about the wire-haired terriers?
You can't do much with that. You can't do much with it. Iron it.
One of the most amazing features of Mutarama is the breeding kennel.
We've developed a new breed for people who want a watchdog with a good loud, vicious bark, but do not want such a big animal around the house. Now, most of your smaller breeds have a bark that wouldn't frighten a bunny rabbit. We've developed a miniature dog with a big, spooky bark. Would you bring Brutus out, please?
Yes, I will, Harold.
Here he comes.
You like him?
Say, yes, he looks like a Pekingese, ladies and gentlemen. He's about 8 inches high. Strictly a lapdog type. Can you get him to bark for us so we could hear his
yes.
scary bark?
Make him bark, will you, Luther?
Wow. Boy, that's really big dog frightening power and compact dog economy and convenience, Hiram.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry we don't have time right now to visit the canine furniture department, but I understand they sell everything from doggy four-poster beds to tiny kitchen sets. However, we will return a little later to attend a session of the Motorama Dog Obedience School, so stay tuned.
Come on up on the 5th floor, Mr. Ballou, up to our cafeteria. I'll treat you to a bite to eat.
Wonderful.
Makes its own gravy.